Set.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the October 23rd, 2025 Plumbing Piping Work Examining Board meeting. It's approximately 9:06 a.m. We have a we have a quorum. We don't have a full membership of the board today, but we do have enough members to make the quorum possible for the meeting. Thank you for those who attended today. I'd like to ask the members of the board here to present if they could look at the minutes of our July 24th, 2025 meeting and accept or any changes. We have a motion to accept those minutes.
Motion to accept the minutes from the July 24th meeting.
Thank you, Aaron.
And I'll second that motion.
Chip, we have a second. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any denials? Any abstentions? Okay, we're good to go. All right, so we're gonna start the agenda. I believe Janita is got to get going. Is that correct, Janita? I'd like to, if I could move you forward with the complaint status report, so we could allow you to start your day out there. I know you've got a busy schedule from what it sounded like.
Yeah, no, I've got to get down to Norwalk. So, Mr. Chairman, and to the board members, I appreciate it. I thank you, and I thank the guests for also allowing me to go forward. For the time frame of July 1st of 2025 through August 31st of 2025, the department, and hang on while I increase the font on my phone, since I'm using my cell phone, we received 10 new files, and we've closed 11 files during that time. And there were assurances of voluntary compliance that had forfeitures totaling $20,500 that were brought in. We have also been working on writing reports to get them to legal, to get them either through a compliance meeting with legal if they have a license, or if not, to get it in the future to a hearing to you all. And because, like I said, I am on a telephone screen, Mr. Chairman, do you or any of your members have any questions on this report?
Thank you, Janita. At this time, does any board members have any questions or request of Janita this morning in reference to any of this document or anything else? Having none, Janita, thank you for your time, your effort, your great staff that you have working so diligently. It's a lot of work here, and we really appreciate you coming in front of us and giving us this report in your busy schedule.
No, you're quite welcome. Just to let you and the board members know, we are out doing more on-site inspections. So we are making our presence felt out in the field. And we also have continued to do joint inspections with the Connecticut Department of Labor Wage and Workplace, AKA Wage and Hour, where both groups will go on to the job site on the same day and go from there. So those joint ventures have been productive, plus our own inspections that we've done just as DCP investigations, occupational inspectors have been quite productive.
Thank you, Janita. One final question then I'll have for you. I know you had lost an agent with the department to go out and do these inspections. Were you able to replace that individual yet? Has it gone out to the job to get a Yeah, job posting. Thank you. Yeah, that's the word I want to use.
That's in the works right now. Okay, so we're at the beginning stages of that. And I don't know that Director Brown's on this call, but no, we are working on that as we speak.
Will you be looking for more than one inspector in this round, or just the replacement of the one we lost? Excuse me, I have to sneeze. Thank you. Will it be
Bless
just the
you,
one?
sir. Right now, it's replacing the one that left to go be a building official out in the northeast corner. You know me, and the board members that you have that have been around for a long time know that I am always asking for more staff, always. So that's not going to stop. But this would be a big help that we replace the gentleman that left last February.
Great. Thank you, Janita, for that. We
And
appreciate it.
Director Brown is here, so she can fill you in. Your question.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I'm working on the posting as we speak.
Great. Can we post for a couple? Or we just
Right now, I only have
post for one?
just the one for now. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. Thank you, Pam. And thank you, Janita. Have a good day. Pam, we got started.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
I had,
Janita.
Janita go through
Thank you.
the list this morning with the board early so she could move on, just so you know. And we appreciate everything you and Janita's division does for the department. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm actually on my way to join her at the same spot. So thank you so much for putting us ahead on the agenda.
Thank you. You're welcome, of course. All right. So that piece out. Okay, at this time, do we have any comments or concerns with any of our phone-in people this morning? I understand we have an individual from Conspot, or two, I believe, maybe. Does anybody want to, Justin, or was there somebody else that was with you, Justin, too, in this meeting?
Yeah. So we have Linda here, our chapter administrator, as well as myself. Hi, everybody. Justin Ivy from Conspa, education director. No, we just kind of wanted to pop in. We saw that the requirements for the continuing education for the next 2 years were released before the November 1st date that they're usually released by. We really just wanted to pop in and listen to what's going on in the world of the plumbers. I know we're just a little subsection, but just make sure we're in line with everybody. We're hoping to pop into more to make sure we keep a connection with you guys.
We appreciate that, Justin. And you're part of the business in our plumbing definitions is very important to us, especially the safety of pool, air installations, maintenance, and of course the swimming pool code in general, which is now implemented with us, as you know.
Yeah, just a little bit of background as well. I hope to be able to help you guys out over the next few years. My job role right now is actually I work for the Pool and Hot Tub Alliance. I'm their education manager. So I spend a lot of time creating and managing education, not just for the state of Connecticut with Conspa, but for the entire country and around the world as part of the International Association. Again, we love the recommendations that came out. We thank you for putting some stuff in there that is pool specific. We still have to fill a little bit of time on things that will not be on your required list since our plumbing license doesn't cover some of those things. But again, hoping to continue the relationship and maybe be a part of creating that continuing education requirement going forward to help make sure you guys are keeping up to date with what's going on in the pool and aquatic industry as well.
Great, great. And as you know, Connecticut, we do have codes and standards, and they have the swimming pool code, is in there now. So that's where we get our information from. What is added and deleted in those state regulations is also important to us, because we don't want to be telling somebody to be doing something when it's been deleted or amended out, because it's not referenced in Connecticut standards, right? So I appreciate that, Justin. Always keep an eye on that document as well at the state that's out there at, Department of Administrative Services, the building codes, right? This codes and standard meetings. Do you follow those meetings as well for yourself?
I have not yet. I do make sure I get any memos that are sent out that have certain things flagged that come from the state to pay a little bit of attention, and rely on my NESPA, Northeast Spa and Pool Association, and other ConSpa members to keep up to date with a lot of the building stuff as well.
Yeah. Great, Justin. I appreciate it. Thank you for attending today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Hi, this is Linda from ConSpa, and I just
Hi.
have a couple of questions in regards to the renewals. What is happening that I'm getting phone calls on are the STBs that should have been renewed back in April. So some of these guys didn't do the renewals, and several of them, to be honest with you. And that's where my concern is, and why I came onto the call this morning is I just want to know, I know you guys sent it. How many times do you send the emails out for the renewals?
What I'm going to do right now is pass that question over to John and let him answer that. John Mesner.
Okay.
Yeah, good
Perfect,
morning.
thank you.
They're typically sent out a minimum of one time. If there's no
It is.
response back, a second attempt will be made. But the individuals that, and again, I can provide dates and times that those emails were sent, because we do track that information. But if individuals are
Okay.
changing their addresses or have a better email that they want utilized, they should go online to our DCP website, and they should go to licensing services and update their emails, so that, again, they're getting the correspondence that we're sending out, because we're not only just sending out renewals, we also send out interpretations from OSBI, law changes, etc., that might impact a certain industry. So it's always good to have the most
Okay.
up-to-date email on file with us. But specifically but the license renewals are the same date every single year. So the biggest piece of information just to pass on to the membership will be put it in their calendar so that every year they remember to renew their license when they should.
Okay. So now my next question is, if these guys, put it this way, you're not taking anybody's license away, right? Because they're all freaking out right now when their renewal was supposed to be April 30th. It's gone by, and they've come to the classes. One guy told me that he, that he was having a hard time and everything, but as long as the renewal is done, is there a late fee still that you guys are charging? Or did you take that away?
There is late fees.
Okay.
The late fee goes into effect depending on when you renew.
Okay.
And an individual has up to 3 years to renew. If they wait past that 3-year mark,
What I thought.
they have to retest.
Okay. All right. So it's up to 3 years, regardless of the STB, ST1, or ST2. Because I had one guy saying that they're taking my license away, and I think he just didn't understand. And then I saw him in person, and he's like, "Oh no, I renewed it." And I was like, "So what did you do?" And I know the guys that are coming. I have their certificates, everything. I just want to make sure that it's still the 3-year period of is that the point that if they did miss their deadline.
Correct. So, and that was actually just increased. Previously it was 2 years. It's now 3. So
Okay.
as long as they renew within that 3-year time frame, they could reinstate. Obviously, there will be back fees affiliated with such, the late fees. But if they wait after that 3-year point, it does go inactive. In order to get that license back, they will have to retest.
Okay. One more question, and you guys will be done with me. So another ones for the SP1s and SP2s, they were supposed to do their education classes prior to July 31st. Now they have renewals in the next week, right? If they missed that class, and I had heard from one other person that you guys extended him 30 days to make up that class. Right now, I thought that there was no classes going on, even like, you know, if they can't come to one of our classes, I send them to code. But is there like a continuance and stuff that we could still do past that, you know, the date of July 31st for people that missed it? Or we have to just get them into the class for the next year that's coming up?
And just for clarity, as you identified, because of the renewal date on that, it needs to be done 90 days prior to the expiration of the credential. So in this case,
Right.
you're correct. July 31st is that 90-day period when they are late. So if they do not put a hardship waiver into the department prior to that 90 days, and again, it
Okay.
would need to comply with the hardship requirements. So someone that's just too busy to do the class is not a hardship. Somebody that's
Okay.
away from military
Yeah.
leave, that might be a hardship. And again, the hardship request
Okay.
needs to be received prior to that July 31st date. The
Okay.
hardship will be reviewed, potentially approved. That's correspondence that will be communicated between the board and the individual looking for the hardship. But anybody past that July 31st date has essentially not complied with the law. And if the
Okay.
board was to do an audit of those individuals, they could be subject to penalty. But it would be
Right.
highly advised that they get a class done that complies with, so either the limited class and or an unlimited class, because the unlimited class is going to cover the limited topics, and just to fulfill the requirement and renew. Unfortunately, there is no good pathway because essentially when you go to renew, you're acknowledging the fact that you've completed.
Right.
And if you don't acknowledge
Yep.
such, then you're attesting to no, you didn't. So you haven't complied with. So they're just going to have to follow the steps. And again, if the board was to do an audit, they'll have to come before the board and identify why it is that they weren't able to comply with meeting that requirement.
Okay. So now if I had an SP2 that didn't do his continuing education classes, from what I'm hearing up there is that the state or somebody told them that they can go to an SP1 class when we start having these classes now again to make up for the class that he missed. Is that wrong?
No, that's an accurate statement. Because again, the
Okay.
plumbing CE is every other year. Unfortunately, unless there's a provider that's offering a makeup class for that journey person, which would have to go through the process of being approved.
Right.
They could take the other class because the courses, whether contractor or journey person, and correct me wrong, Mr. Pember or Mr. Chairperson, are they going to be the same classes as they were in the last CE cycle? So they can take either or class. There's not specific criteria for either or, but it's just that they are still late.
Okay.
And I would
And
like
if
to,
I,
Linda, I'd like to add something to Mr. Mesner's comment there. It's also going to be very important for that individual to make sure, because he's late, he's going to be taking the class in the next year, even though it's the same class, he was
Right.
late. So we need to know on the document from the school, whether you go to CEC, IMTI, code, whoever you go to for your member, make sure that they make a note on that document that they give him before he leaves class, the date of which he took it, because he was supposed to have done it a year earlier and didn't.
got,
So make sure that is in place, because we need to know that in the event of the audit.
yeah, because like we you know, we have drilled it into, and Justin and I drilled it into these guys' heads. If you're an SP1, this is the year that you come. If you're an SP2, this is when you come. So it was kind of, we were taken back when we heard from the state that said, oh no, they can go to an SP1 class, because that's not what we do, you know? Now the SPBs, because there's no other company out there, I usually, and you guys are going to yell at me, if they miss one, I make them come to two classes to make up for the last year and then this year. Is that wrong?
Linda, you know, the thing is, we don't take licenses away from anybody. So you're getting,
Okay.
you're getting unreasonable heat from your members. That's almost,
You think?
yes, and you got to let them know. Let them know that I said this, the chairman of the board. We don't take
Okay.
licenses away from anybody.
Okay.
We try to help people when they ask either the agency or myself or any of my board members the right way, the right pathway through this. We
Okay.
help them. We have trade associations that cannot offer education. We've always been very proud of ConSpa because of your past Al Rizzo back in the day was a big proponent, as God rest his soul,
Right.
was a big proponent of this group. What we were doing back in the early days of continuing ed, I'll never forget that. So, going forward, I'm not going to mention other trade areas, but they cannot offer a program. So they have to send their members to the full class, right? With code, IMTI, whatever, whoever's registered. So there's no reason. And here's another thing for you, Linda, and Justin, tell your members, this is online and in present. So in January, when you're not working on a swimming pool, there's no reason why you can't be taking the class. There's absolutely no reason. You could be in Florida on vacation and take this class online because we have so many different license categories, as
You're
you
right.
can
You're
imagine, that are seasonal. Say like irrigation, right? Who's irrigating their yard in Connecticut in January? They're on vacation. They're away. They can take their CE online and meet the criteria ahead of time. So don't let any of your members ever bully you that way because
Okay.
we don't take licenses. We do create a pathway to make it easier. They just have to ask.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if anybody gives you a
All
hard
right.
time, you come and see me and
You,
we can
you
have
don't want me to contact.
well, we can have an agent come out and visit them and have a discussion with them as to what their criteria is if they give you a hard time, if that's what you need or your people.
All right. Sounds good to me. Thank you so much for this morning. I really appreciate it because now I have all the answers when I go back to them now. So,
Great. Thank you guys for
Yes.
showing up. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Take
Thank
care.
you. I appreciate it. I have another meeting to run to, the life of a wonderful work from home guy, but thank you so much, guys. I'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so we're going to move on. Do we have anything from the legal division today? Is there anything? That's the next on the agenda. Otherwise, we'll move on to, does anybody have any questions, by the way, for what was just said in the meeting to this organization that just came in front of us? Anybody have any questions? I think it was pretty clear, right, everybody? Okay. All right. As far as old business is concerned, is there anybody here with a continued discussion in regards to the glycol for the geothermal mix? Is there anybody here that I know there's been discussions in the past year about it? Is there anybody here in front of us today for that?
Just to clarify, we never heard from them ever again?
I think they're just being continued on to the agenda each time in case they do come. Maybe that's what this is all about. And the fact that Gail is continually sending us paperwork, updating us through documents here. I'm just thinking that they just, perhaps that might have some relevancy to the geothermal process. Aaron, that's all.
Yeah, just to clarify, Mr. Chairperson, for Aaron, yes, that's the only reason why that remains on the agenda. To date, we have not received any additional communication from Mark, who represents the manufacturer, or Deep on the topic.
And
It's,
that product isn't being used in Connecticut currently?
Currently, it was not adopted by this board, so it shouldn't be. The last, and I could, if the board would like, I could follow up with DPH. Where this stood last was DPH was reviewing the product and then was going to follow up with the board upon review.
Okay, that's just wondered what was going on with that. Thank you.
Okay.
And here's another thing while we're on that subject. Obviously ICSPA, do we know, both Aaron and John, do we know if IXPA has talked or changed their documents in the last 2 years in reference to this new glycol mix?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
I don't know, but I could look at the paperwork.
I'm not a member of IXPA, so I don't have that information. And I don't want to guess, but without going to the source, the director, I think his last name is Hammond. I haven't seen him in a meeting since GO New York in Albany, would be probably 2 years ago. Anyhow, okay, let's move on to the Yale geothermal update. In front of us, thank you, Rochelle. A set of plans has been sent to us for an update as to what is happening on the Yale site, laying out in a colorful illustration. Also, the latest to October 9th document to Paul Grabowski, our legal, in this regards. Is there anything there that you stands out to us, perhaps Aaron, in that discussion there that they wrote in this document?
There was discussion about ancillary lines being installed after the wells were completed, if I'm correct in what I read, separating distances of 5 feet for some fire lines.
Right.
I don't think that's any big concern. I don't think they pose any contamination risk, and it's nice of them to have documented all that. It was an appreciated worksheet. I was curious how their project was going. Looks like that they've completed 183 boreholes and a bunch of related tie-in. It all looks according to what we agreed to.
Yeah, it looks like they had an issue too with a borehole within 5 feet of a storm pipe. They had a discussion with the contractor. They had difficult drilling conditions were encountered in the design location of the bore, which dictated a slight westerly relocation of the bore, just slightly under the 5-foot horizontal. I think in January we'll have the Yale group come in front of us. That'll be like almost a 2-year since they were in front of us, just to give us an update with your permission, Aaron. Would that be okay with you?
I would like that, and I still would like for us maybe to take a group of us to go up there and make them walk us through it, just out of curiosity and to see what's going on.
I agree with you. I thought the same thing. I would like to, maybe before the weather changes, maybe we could request from the attorney at Yale, if we could get a letter drafted, either from Rochelle. Can you do that through Paul Grabowski and see if we could do a tour of the site?
Mr. Chair, just to jump on that for 1 second.
Sure.
We could definitely get a correspondence out. Could you and the board just provide the names of the individuals you would like to attend to that meeting? We need to stay under quorum on that so that we don't have an off-site meeting without being noticed.
Yeah. I think at this time it would be really, at this point, I think Mr. Moniz, I believe if I'm pronouncing that, the attorney with UKS, who has been corresponding with Paul, you can certainly reach out to him and Yale staff. I think that was they mentioned Yale staff, so I think that would be good. So whoever they want to bring in is fine to explain. They brought in, I think, 6 or 7 people, including engineers and all sorts of stuff at the last point. So let's let them decide on who they want to bring in to update us on the relevant information that's happened in the last 2 years there.
But do you know who from the board you would want to attend that meeting?
Who from what? Our board?
You're from your board.
The whole board. It would be in front of, oh, you mean for the trip there? For the
Yeah,
trip- Oh, yeah, everybody. It's got to be open to the whole board. Yes.
all right, so that would be an issue just because we don't want to meet quorum. That's the only concern. Or else
Gotcha.
we would have
So if
to,
we- Yeah, so if we have ours, like myself, Chip, Melissa, Peter, I guess we'll have to reach out to the board, maybe send a correspondence out to the board and ask them who would like to attend that meeting and put a couple dates together. So we'd have to get a couple dates from Yale to see what's good for
Okay.
them. Weather permitting, right? We want to make sure everybody's safe on site in the event of I don't know if we'll have a blizzard by January, but you never know.
John? The problem
Yes, sir.
with the problem with a quorum is,
we have to notice it as a meeting
okay,
or a special meeting.
can we go into executive session?
You would still have to notice it, but yes, it could go into executive session.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
I'll reach out to the attorney. I'll get a few dates and I'll have Rochelle send correspondence out to the board to poll to see who's interested in taking that trip, and then we could go from there.
I think it'd be a great trip for everybody because it's going to, a lot of our trades here are affected by that, whether it's at a university, large commercial level, or again, our smaller projects.
Well, it's of interest to people in heat and cooling, and to us in the drilling end, and to anybody else that has any kind of mechanical interest, I think.
Would you like to entertain too, Aaron, have the heating board attend too, so they can see where these manifolds are then adopted into the equipment within the building?
I would, since I've heard a lot of rumblings in the background about the efficacy of the whole proposed system. Would be nice to bring some of these guys in to see that it is in fact feasible and functional.
Do we know if the building is physically, the new mechanical building is actually built, so to know that the equipment is actually, it says thermal plant phase 2 under separate cover. Is it actually built yet, or we just have the boreholes? Are the manifolds all installed already? Site utilities to be installed in a future phase after geothermal. So I'm just looking at the document that they sent us. I don't know if any of the buildings have been built yet.
Yeah,
They're working around existing buildings, and it's a phased in project.
Parking garage phase 1, then you go to phase 2 is the thermal plant. So that's under another document, I guess, but we don't see yet. So I don't even know if they've got that far yet. Or, I mean, if they're still drilling boreholes, then they might not even, that means they don't even have the loops in on the whole system yet, including the manifolds, the trenching to the manifolds.
she's a little bit over halfway, right?
With the drilling.
Yeah.
So I guess the request would be to see how far they've got. And if they
Yeah.
could give us an overview of the project as it stands now, and then the future extensions of that, meaning, the manifolds and the building, where the building's gonna be, or corresponding to this plan. Okay,
Hello,
yes,
this is Annie Gembrami. I just had a meeting with you guys for a plumbing license for a P1.
okay, we haven't got there yet, sir, but if you wanna hang on just a
I'm-
few minutes, we're gonna finish up.
I'm sorry for that.
No worries, it's okay.
Thank
Is that okay, Aaron? We'll set something up and then go from there?
Yeah, let's see where they're at and what they think, and we can make a trip over there.
Great, great. Does anybody have any else to add to that? Okay, very good. We'll move on. And then, all right, so we have a request for guidance. Mr. Brahmi, am I pronouncing that correct?
Enigan is my name. Yeah, Enigan Brown.
Yes, thank you, sir. You're requesting a question to the plumbing board. You have the floor right now.
Correct. So what's happening? I've been doing plumbing since 2019, and I already have an S1 license. I have the S1 license since 2023, and I completed the hours for that even before, like, if I am not wrong, I was like 2022. And my company, unfortunately, they skip, they thought that they put me in the program, and then they didn't put me in the program for my plumbing license, and they put me like a year behind. And right now, I just completed the hours for my plumbing license, and I received a letter from you guys that I'm capable of going for my P2 license. And I opened my own company. It's called Brahmi Mechanical out Cheshire, Connecticut. And I was looking if I can kind of skip the progress of P2 and if I can go like right away for my P1. Even if it has a fee for that, I'm willing to pay the fee. Just I can go for my P1 as well.
Okay, I'm going to let Mr. Mesner explain to you the current status there. Okay, and obviously we understand you've got your S1 now, and you've got the time in, but I'm going to let Mr. Mesner explain the process there, if you don't mind.
Of course.
Yeah, so good morning. So the law does state that it requires 2 years of having held the journey person credential prior to being eligible for the contractor. I would, Mr. Chair, we recently had a few applications come before the heating board in a similar fashion that held other licenses issued by that board. One of which was a plumbing license, actually similar situation, just roles reversed. They had a P1 going for their S1 after the applicant had already obtained their S2. And if the board deems that him holding his S1, and sir, how long have you had the S1 for, or the S1 for? A little over a year now, right?
Yes, it's over a year that I have my S1, and like I do have my own company right now as well. And the only reason why I was trying to go for like P1 is because sometimes, and some inspectors are different from other inspectors. Like if I have to do a combi boiler, like technically in the paper it says like I can do a combi boiler with my S1 license because it's like a heating, so I'm allowed to touch the heating pipes. And some other inspectors are kind of giving issues saying you're going to need a P1 license in order to do a combi boiler. So that's the only reason why kind of I want to have the P1 as well, just in case if I have a combi boiler or I have a water heater, and in one way I don't fight with the inspectors.
What
Okay,
I'm
so let me
confused
just-
about, what I'm confused about is the fact that you're now in business for yourself. You're no longer
Correct.
finishing your P2. He never had you registered, so you never, or now he's got you registered, your previous employer, but now you've left him and went into business for yourself. So
I'm working for both companies right now, for myself
But
and the company which I work every day.
And Mr. Chair, just to clarify, he's an S1 contractor. And correct me if I'm wrong, sir, but you
Okay.
you completed your P2 apprenticeship. So you're eligible right now for your P2 examination, correct?
Yes,
You received the letter from the Department of Labor stating the fact that you've completed your P2 apprenticeship, correct?
correct. And I already made the payment for the registration for going for my test as well.
Yeah, so
Okay.
he is eligible for the P2, having completed the full apprenticeship.
okay,
He's just seeking the opportunity to take the P1 examination in lieu of taking the P2 examination, which if the board wanted to, they could weigh out the equivalent experience of him having obtained the S1 contractor. And that would be a decision of the board to look into the equivalent experience of such.
So like
Okay.
I'm saying, with all my companies which I work, I've been doing like heating and plumbing since 2018, so in 2019, with all the companies which I've been working, and that was kind of my only reason. And my company, unfortunately, like they needed to put me in apprenticeship from 2022. It was like October 2022, and unfortunately, kind of I don't know, like was a miscommunication inside in the office, and then they couldn't sign me up for the papers, and then they kind of unfortunately like waive it like a year after for that. So it was like a miscommunication with them, and when I catch that one, they kind of unfortunately they didn't have enough spot for the plumbing. Then they waited until they got another plumber to put me on in the apprenticeship program for them.
Should we have this gentleman put an application in, and then it can go to the review committee, application review committee, and then if it doesn't pass the muster there, it can come back to this board, John?
So the problem with the application review group meeting with it, the application review working group wouldn't be able to approve the application because he hasn't held the P2 for 2 years.
Right.
Now, if the board wanted to make a motion today, whether to accept or deny based on his experience, it could go to the application review working group if the board was in favor of approving him, and it could be approved upon application. So he wouldn't have to come back before the board once the application was made.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Go ahead, Eric.
He's got an S1 already, which makes him a contractor, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
So if he were to have a P2 at the same time that he has an S1, what does that, in his case, what does that do to him?
He would not be able to legally engage in plumbing and piping work. For the example that he's giving, with the combi boilers, he would have to subcontract the plumbing work out because he's not legally able to. If he's in his own business, he could do all the scope of the work of the S1, but he can't engage in the work of the P1, excuse me, because he's not in the employment of a P1. So I believe that's his equivalent experience
Correct.
request, is weighing out,
Right.
what he has achieved in the S1 to waive that 2-year waiting period. Having established the requirements of being able to achieve the S1 and pass the examination as an equivalent contractor.
But he could have, he could be under the supervision of a P1 and do his own plumbing on those boilers, right?
As long as he's in the employment of, he's in I just want to make sure that there's clarity on such. He's in a unique position where he's both working full-time for an employer that sounds like they're properly licensed and having his own business. So when he's in the employment of his employer, who's properly licensed with a S1, which he holds as well, and a P1, then yes, he can engage with that P2 once he achieves that P2. But when he's in his own self-employment, he cannot engage in any plumbing work unless he had a P1 contractor record that was a full-time regular employee of his company.
Full-time, okay. How many hours would he be short for sitting for the P1?
He would, once he achieves the P2 is when the clock would start ticking for the two, and he would have to hold that P2 in good standing for 2 years.
For 2 more years, okay.
I have a question I'd like to throw
Thank you.
there. In reversal now, how has the heating board handled that when somebody comes in with the plumbing and then there's the heating S1 piece of that? How has the heating board reacted to the same situation, but just in a reversal, John? How has the heating board responded to those requests in the past?
Based upon the applications that have come before the board typically has approved such applications with the individuals having achieved the equivalent experience through another Connecticut credential. So it could be reflected in the minutes of the last heating board meeting that there was an individual that held a P1, an S2, and was seeking to waive the 2 years. And again, I just want to clarify that in that situation, the individual did hold the prerequisite journey person at that point. He was not coming before the board with the apprenticeship completion. He actually obtained the the journey person license, and the board did make that motion to approve that individual to go for the S1. But again, that's a board decision. The department, based upon the board decision, could move with the application, but to bring it before the application review working group at this moment, the way that he stands, he would be denied and have to wait before the next board meeting.
So John, I have a quick question. You had said though that the individual had an S3. So he actually had a heating license. He wasn't an apprentice. So if in fact he had some type of P license, then it would be the same. But right now, we have an individual who does not have a P license. So he would almost have to take the P2 exam and pass it, and then come back to us and ask at that point whether we would waive the 2 years and give him a P1. Because that's what it seemed like you just said, that's what the heating board just did. So that's a different scenario than just
Right.
going from an apprentice to a P1.
Correct. And if the board wanted to, for clarity, if the board felt that the S1 met that equivalent experience and wanted to make a motion today that he obtains the P2 and then reapplied for the P1 after obtaining the P2, we could then approve it at the departmental level based upon the motion made today, if that's the feeling of the board. So it's totally based upon the board at the moment to weigh in the equivalent experience of him having obtained the S1, having going through the process, and having achieved the P2 completion from the Department of Labor.
To be honest with you, we're just dragging stuff out a little bit here. I think at the end of the day, since the heating board has already made precedence on that, I would make a motion that once he has got his P2, that he would be able to apply and take the P1 test.
I second that motion.
Second that.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Deny?
Aye.
Abstain? So moved.
All right.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, go ahead, John. You can.
so Mr. Chair, just for clarity to the applicant,
Right.
what you should do at this point, based upon the board's motion, is apply for your P2 examination.
Okay.
Upon taking the examination and passing the P2 examination, as the minutes will reflect today, when you actually have passed the examination, you could then apply for your P1 license and then go and take the P1 examination. And based upon the equivalent experience that the board weighed in today, you would essentially be waiving the 2-year required period of time. So obtain your P2 and then reapply for the P1. And you could go take that examination for the trade component and the business and law.
Okay, that's perfect to me. So yeah, I don't have a problem going for my P2 and then I can waive right away for my P1. But do I have to send you guys an email again and I have to meet with you guys again in the board the same way how we're doing now, or it's gonna be right away in my PSI, then I can go right away for the P1 after I pass
No,
my P2?
you just need to apply, and if you could do me a favor in the application, please just indicate that based upon the board's minutes of the October 23rd board meeting. So you could just put that in there that so you're eligible right now for your P2. You could apply for your P2 today and you'll be approved.
Correct.
Upon passing the P2 examination and when you apply for the P1, you'll want to indicate in that application that based upon the October 23rd, 2025 board meeting, that you were approved to take the P1 examination, and the individuals reviewing the application will reflect back to those minutes of today's meeting and kind of go ahead and approve that application. So you do not need to come before this board again.
And the question, the business law, like the test that I took, I think that thing is good for 2 years. So if I pass like my P2 and then I reapply right away for P1, if I'm within the 2 years course, am I gonna be able to skip the business law, or I have to retake that as well? The test.
Examinations are valid for 2 years. So if you're within that 2-year period from when you took your S1, you would not have to take your business and law examination.
Okay, I'm clear for everything then. Thank you so much for everything.
Good luck to you,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you so much, guys. You guys have a good day then.
You as well.
You too.
Bye.
Okay. Is there anything else under new business anybody has for the agency in reference to what's not on the agenda today?
I have a quick thing. I've been approached by a couple of different people from out of state in seeking a license for to be able to work over here, hydrofracking. And the more I thought about it, I would like to ask the board, but I think that maybe we should have a separate category, although it's not a lot of people, specifically for hydrofracking, so that we don't have to give somebody an unlimited license for give them a W-1 for that. What do you think about that?
Say that again, please, Aaron.
Out-of-state contractors that hydrofrack in Connecticut, I have been asked the process for them to get properly licensed, so that if they're working for a Connecticut contractor hydrofracking a well per se, they do not have to have the Connecticut contractor who holds the license present with them at all times.
Is that a question for Paul Grabowski, John? The legality of that, I have concerns, Aaron, so many hydrofracks are occurring and there's no documentations in any of the local jurisdictions as to how good that occurred. A lot of times you can't get a flow rate. They do something, they get it running, and then they drop the pump back down and walk away. The neighbors don't have any information. I'm dealing with that on a job this month. And is that something we should require a registration for that specific, they're not drillers, they're hydrofrackers, right? But typically the well drillers own the hydrofrack equipment. Your question,
I have one that does work for me, that when we're too busy and can't do our own, I have him come over here, and he's conscientious and very worried about. He wants me to send a guy with a W license to be there with him. He's worried, and I don't know how many other people are coming in and flying in and out of the state and doing work, but normally the guys, there are 3 majors that are in this business that come from out of state, and they're usually hydrofracking for a legit well company here.
right?
So I just think it might be a way, and exactly what you say, Chuck, about, and I do it too. I hydrofrack a lot of wells and I don't write it down. There's some argument about, I don't write it down in a fashion that it's registered with the local health department. There may be a process where we keep better tabs on what's being fracked and who's fracking and what's encountered with a registration and maybe a separate permit and a separate completion report. And then we don't have to give these people an unlimited well drilling license to do this type of development. John.
So just like we had the W5 6 category implemented legislatively 23 years ago, an extension casing whether it was concrete shallow well or a 6-inch casing, 7-inch extension, what have you, from a previous borehole. That had to be in a certificate program. I think it's a $50 fee per year. It's not, like you said, not the $88 well drilling type of thing. So, that is something maybe we should be looking at, especially with groundwater becoming such an issue. We're fracking. We're literally fracking into all sorts of different materials. So I think it's important that a record is kept. If a geothermal driller has to, or well driller is drilling boreholes, then we should really be keeping track of what our groundwater is doing. We obviously we're in a drought this year, got a lot of problems going on. I think it's important that maybe this is a good time with you bringing this up too. And I agree to get something in writing again through DPH. I know the Department of Consumer Protection keeps records on well drilling. Maybe this is something we have to add to our list. I can perhaps talk to CJ Straub, our legislative coordinator for the commissioner here, as we move legislative forward. Again, we are still in October. This is the critical month that the department puts the curriculum, the programs or changes that they want to do legislatively into the books going into the next legislative session. Is this something the board feels as though I should address with him and the commissioner to see if we can get support to try to get that enacted in the next year?
Mr. Chair, I have Paul Grabowski is going to be jumping on in a minute. Also, we could go through the process as well if the board so chooses before making a further comment. I do think your recommendation, looking into something limited, as in the W5, W6, that might have an attachment or something along those lines. But Paul should be joining momentarily if you want to raise. Just Aaron, if you want to just give him a quick background to it again, just so that we could start thinking about it also, so we could be an assistance to the regulatory process with CJ.
Do you want to take a 5-minute recess right now until Paul jumps on?
That's up to the board.
Let's take a 5-minute recess, a couple minutes after 10. Take a 5-minute. Let's get back on at 10:08 or 10:10. That sound good to everybody?
That sounds
good.
fine.
Thank you.
Great.
Hey, Paul, the board just went to a 5-minute recess. We're gonna meet here at 10:08.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Thank you for joining.
John, you there?
Yep.
So this particularly applies to, I don't know if I mentioned it to you, the son, the Boyd kid, who has, never mind.
Thanks for coming on, Paul. We just took a few-minute recess. I'll give the board a break for a moment to while you came on. So we appreciate you jumping on.
Yeah, no problem.
Once we have the quorum back, we can then discuss what our thoughts are on this possible process through the agency.
Sounds good.
Okay, it's 10:08. Do we have everybody back? Aaron, you're here? Chip? Kim? I see Chip. Chip, you can hear us?
All
okay?
set.
Yeah,
Here,
great. Kim, you good? Great.
yes.
How you doing, Aaron?
Sorry, I was on the other line.
No worries, brother. Okay, let's, John, with your, we'll allow Aaron to take the floor for a minute here, explain to Paul what we're looking at.
Yes.
Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, everybody.
I have been approached by a contractor that works for me, comes from out of state, excuse me, that specializes in hydrofracking. He has experience as a well driller in Connecticut, but he was never properly enrolled in the system, so his time really didn't count. But he's asked me numerous times as to how he could become a legal operator in Connecticut without allowing him to hydrofrac without me having to send somebody to sit with him, send somebody with a license to sit with him while he does the process. And he works for other contractors who are in similar situations that are licensed that use him. And the more I thought about it, I said, we really should have a category for hydrofracking and a registration as a standalone, possibly a standalone credential for them, so they can be a legal entity, be registered in the system in Connecticut, come here, hydrofrac a well, and return to their state. Or even people in state that only want to hydrofrac and be properly registered with documentation and a permit and a completion report that gets filed for what they've been doing, so we can keep track of hydrofracking activities done by third parties. Currently, you would need a W-1, an unlimited well drilling license to do this. And I just didn't really want to see us handing out W-1s for this. So what are your thoughts?
And Paul, before you, I just for clarity
Yeah.
for Paul, fracking contractors are not well drillers, and vice
Okay.
versa. And correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron. You don't have too many well drillers that are engaging in the fracking, correct?
I would say 50% of the well drillers own their own development equipment in the form of a hydrofrac unit. I mean, we do our own. I can think of a few others around me that there aren't that many of us left anyway. So, probably at least 50%. But sometimes I'm so busy, I use this fella to hydrofrac who comes from New York. There are companies that come out of Massachusetts that are their own entities. I don't know whether they hold licenses or not.
But I'd like to include in this too, Paul, with Aaron, the fact that we have in-state hydrofrackers too, not just out-of-staters. So when we created the W5, W6 category 23 years ago, I was 39, so that's how I remember. I was in Hartford Hospital getting a catheterization the day it was at the legislature, so that's how I remember where I was because I couldn't make the legislature meeting. That this certificate W5 W6 carry was created at the legislature. So I'm thinking if we back, not to say we want to have the guys doing extension casings who are now hydrofrackers, but I don't know if we would do a separate category for that. Would we put it into the W3 category? I mean, basically additional language into an existing, but the W5, W6, I don't think that's a good idea. But I think we got to cover anybody coming in from out of state, in state already doing hydrofracking should have a certificate unless they've already got, like you said, Aaron, they got the W1, period, right?
Correct.
The key, Paul, here for me is to make sure with all the groundwater problems we have in Connecticut, if you're going to pull something, you're going to be pulling a well pump out of a borehole, and you're going to, not necessarily, you can have the driller, the plumber's license to do that, and then put the well system back, or the hydrofracker. What do you think, Aaron, would be able to pull that and then reset it with a certificate issued by the department for hydrofrac?
Yes. And
okay, good. Okay.
I think it gives some protection to the consumers of the state that they can look them up, and that there's some coverage that these aren't just fly-by-night operations that could leave them with a damaged well and high and dry. They need to have the resources to stand behind their work, and if there's a problem, they need to know how to get it straightened out, whether it's a caved in well, a destroyed well, something, property damage. There's a lot of things that can go wrong when you're hydrofracking. And there's a lot of, there's a lot of risk.
I'd also like to see a record cap. These are problems, Paul, that we're facing right now with all these issues involving dry boreholes going forward with the drought in Connecticut. We have good years, we have bad years. So one in particular is a few weeks ago, the guy drilled 350 years ago, had water issues, and then he hydrofraced, but we didn't know, he had no records. The town, the health district or the sanitarian in the town didn't have any records as to how that was accomplished and what the flow rates were when that happened. So we're not now helping the neighborhood. We want to keep the well drilling reports going to the state. I think they all go to the commissioners, right, to her office, right, for record keeping. This is something, I hate to throw another job at her, but I'm just wondering if, if we're having to take out a permit for a borehole for geothermal through the Department of Health district in the municipalities now, we should be also kind of getting this same permit from a jurisdiction as well, you know. And hey, we're doing it with the backwash now for potassium and salts in dry wells in yards. The sanitarian has to keep track of that as well. So, and years ago when I worked on that legislation with DEEP and DPH and sat in committees, I assured the other agencies that we needed to allow the jurisdictions to make up their minds because we couldn't get a 75-foot distance from a well to a dry well, okay, for salt. Or we had to make sure that the neighbors were covered as well, protected, right? So we could reduce the 75-foot, the sanitarian could reduce that 75-foot. So there's a lot of moving parts here, but I think the hydro frac piece of this whole equation is essential in Connecticut. And I don't think you'll get any complaints from DPH. You talk to any of those guys over there, I think they'll think warmly of this a problem too if CJ had to.
You know,
address.
so I know that these guys are coming from out of state. How do other states tackle this? Is there a limited type license for hydrofracking that these guys have? Is there something we can look at that other states are doing that makes sense?
I don't know the answer to that question. I'm not aware of what New York does for them, and I think in Massachusetts they're categorized as well drillers.
Okay.
And we don't want to go that route, Paul. I think this is a limited situation. I think we could, though, Aaron. You're a member in good standing of the National Water Well Association, who has all the training across the board for all the different types of well drilling licenses, as I've got as well. But I think it's worth looking into, and I want to do it swiftly, Paul, because we know CJ's got that October wish list that he wants to work with the commissioner to move legislation forward. So I know we're at the end of the month. I can bring CJ up if you wish, or yourself, as to why this is important. But I think I can look, or Aaron, we can quickly look into the hydrofrac piece of this in the country and find out what states do have it. I can get back to you, or Aaron can get back to you. In fact, me and Aaron, the two of us, without having to bring a quorum issue into this, we can address this pretty quickly for you and get back to you if that's okay with you.
Yeah, no, that works. I think we just have to figure out where this fits, and we will have to be running some things with DPH and with DEEP as well whenever we're touching these. So, you know, where does it fit in regulation? Can we squeeze it into something that exists, or does it have to be a new limited license type? And also, again, we got to, like you said, Chuck, with the statutes and the legislative session coming up, we will have to check to make sure we're clean with legislative authorization to do this, right? Does the statute authorize it? I think we're good because you're telling me that a W-1 can do this type of work. So that means we do hopefully have that authorization in that in this scheme. So that's a good thing. We shouldn't need to get the package involved. And I know that CJ and company probably have that off already, if not very soon. So yeah, let's make sure we follow up on this. I will do some work to figure out kind of where I think it fits. I'll talk to John. I will talk to CJ, keep him in the loop. And I could take a look at what other states do too. It's not like I need you guys to go do it, but I was just curious if you knew, because that could kind of help us conceptualize what the language is going to look like and where it fits. So that's
thanks, Paul. Yeah, me and Aaron will work on that. If that's okay with you, Aaron, would you like to team up with me on that?
Sure thing.
And I'll work at the national level, people across the board too, for language. Aaron can work with the National Water Well Association, see what's out there. They might have a training program. I will look at all my other national sources that I know that are involved across the board on this as well, to get any information and licensure stuff as well. Back to you. I think what do you think, Aaron? Maybe Wednesday next week, have a Zoom meeting with Paul and possible CJ here? before. We want to do it before the end of the month, before he
That
sends
should-
that
That should be okay.
next
uh,
Wednesday.
What is that? What day is Wednesday? Yeah, 2029. I should be.
29. We can set up, John, would you like to, I don't know if you want to set up a Zoom meeting with Paul, CJ, myself, Aaron, on this.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, I'll look at calendars. I'll check with John and CJ and we'll get you guys the
Yeah.
Teams meeting. We can do that.
Great. That'd be great. Let's get on that. That's great. Does the board members have anything else? Paul, thanks for jumping in. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
We're at the end of the meeting right now. I just wanted to check if anybody else has any concerns or comments at this time. Kimberly, are you good?
Yes, I'm all set.
Great. Thanks, Kimberly, for jumping in today. Really appreciate it. Chip, how do you feel about everything as well?
I think we're good.
Great, thank you. Great. All right. Would somebody like to make a motion to end the meeting today?
I'd like to make the motion, and I'd also like to, assuming we won't see anybody until the end of the year. Happy Halloween, happy Thanksgiving, and all the other holidays that come in. So have some good holidays, and I'd like to make a motion to end the meeting.
Thanks,
Great.
Chip.
Yeah.
Second motion.
That's a second from Aaron. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Happy holiday, happy Halloween, happy Christmas, everybody. Thank you. Bye now.
Back.
So long.
Have a good day.